Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and at lower levels, I think we might have found how to beat the tank meta, at least a little bit, and at least on defense. Now, it said that this really works, really Masters and down. I've been using this for Masters, and I've been using this on my Smurf, which is like silver or gold or something. So yeah, it does seem to be working at all different rankings. At least until you get like really high Masters and like Grandmasters. It's a little bit harder right there, but below that on defense, the combo of Symmetra and Torb is actually very powerful if you can use it in a duo queue, and that's what I've really been finding a lot of really good competitive success with, at least for myself. Now, exactly what is this combo and how kind of does it work? Well, it works a little bit against the tank meta because it essentially makes all your teammates a tank. They get 75 shield from Torb's E, or I guess not shield, they get armor, and then they get 75 shield from Symmetra's ultimate, which is the one that you're probably going to be using a lot, the shield generator. So when you have 150 extra better than HP on the majority of people on your team, well, everyone pretty much becomes a tank. And as well, when you add this to like someone such as Zarya that isn't the most tanky already, that helps a lot. And you can also add this to someone like Soldier so they don't die. Of course, all your supports die a lot less, so pretty much the enemy tanks can't kill them at all unless they're Roadhog. And yeah, it really does help quite a freaking bit. One of the best things about this, though, other than simply giving your team shield and helping your team that way, shield and armor, is the fact that Torb and Symmetra both actually do pretty well against tanks. They work A, very good close range. Guess what other works really good at close range? Pretty much every tank in the game. And B, they do a lot of damage against big targets, and especially they do a lot of damage when they have a lot of time to do their damage. Torb's right click does insane damage if you can happen to get a headshot, and against all the tanks, it's really not way too hard. You can 2 to 3 shot most tanks. And then with Symmetra, you can kind of just melt through the tanks if you have a tank on your own, kind of protecting you, or if you can use your E exactly correctly. As well as simply, the defenses and the damage that you can get from your main guns, you also do have 6 turrets on Symmetra, and then of course that Torb turret. Torb's turret, if the enemy tanks don't all focus on it, can live quite a while, and as well, Torb can go in while his turret's in, so really they won't focus the turret, they're probably going to focus Torb, which works really well. And of course, Symmetra's turrets tell you exactly where the opponents are going. If you put this through all the escape routes, if you put this around, really just everywhere, one of the turrets, you can know when the opponents are going to try to flank you with D.Va or flank you with Genji. You can stop all the flanks, and if they aren't ever trying to flank you, well, you can get a lot of damage on the opponents just by putting your turrets, on the roof, on the sides. I mean, it's just Symmetra turrets. They do really well against tanks, and while they do die instantly, still against tanks, getting vision and also just getting, suppressive damage as well as the Torb suppressive damage, that can really add a lot to beat the tanks. As well, I do want to quickly mention, using Torb's turret as a big distraction can actually pull you off quite a bit of time. Essentially, as Torb, especially if you're playing on defense maps where they're pushing a cart, you can just put your turret off to the side or off to another side. A lot of the times, the enemy team will just kind of walk over to it, and it can actually give you like 5 or 10 seconds, which can help the Symmetra setup, so that's a pretty nice combo as well. And then I guess, finally, the Symmetra right click and the Torb left click, they're both kind of like snipey abilities, and if you have these with like either a Soldier that can help you snipe, or if you just happen to hit a headshot as Torb's left click, well, you can kill the supports, and it finally gives you something that can kind of jank out the supports. Of course, it's not quite as consistent as killing the supports in other ways like Widowmaker, but you get all the other benefits, as well as having a little bit of jank on your team that can kill enemy supports that keep all their tanks alive, so that's a pretty nice addition as well. Now, why I feel like this is actually very strong, especially in solo and duo queue, is the fact that enemy teams aren't going to be as coordinated. And honestly, people that are coordinated do a lot better versus Symmetra and a lot better versus Torb. Against Torb, they can just take out his turret, and against Symmetra, well, they can either find her shield generator, or they can just attack at the time where the shield generator isn't up. They can do really quite a bit, and as well, you can just get into different effective ranges and kind of counter these characters. But when you're playing a solo queue or duo queue, I've never had that really happen to me so far. Of course, there's some players that try to do that, but a team as a whole honestly doesn't do that all the time. A lot of the times there'll be a few Symmetra turrets left, or there'll be her ult left, or there'll be the Torb ult, or there'll be the Torb shift. There's just a lot of different stuff that you do have to really keep into account that a lot of people just kind of forget about. As well with this, I feel like Symmetra and Torb really do well because they do a lot of chip damage that can kind of make the tanks not really want to go in. And as well, they can do a little bit of burst when the tanks already get in, but mainly it's just that chip damage. One of the best parts about the tanks is that they can just tank for a long time and just keep pushing the cart, and there's not much you can do about it. Because, you can't put enough consistent damage, but when you have these both guys together, you can do a lot of consistent damage and kind of stop them a little bit. Maybe not completely, but you can put a big stop into them, and if you have pretty good teammates as well, that really helps also. Speaking of teammates with the strategy, you don't really need the smartest teammates in order to work. All they really have to do is play pretty defensively, even somewhat defensively, and even if they overextend just a little bit, well, Torb's turret and Symmetra's turrets kind of give your teammates a little bit of extra time to come back before you automatically lose the game. So it's kind of a nice barrier again against players that aren't playing the best, which is, I feel like, something that's very nice about this strategy. It's just very not teamwork friendly. Not saying that it doesn't work well with teamwork, it works even better with teamwork, but when you don't have teamwork, it works pretty well as well. I guess a little bit more about teamwork though that can apply to this strategy, that actually does work really well with some of the meta heroes right now. Reinhardt, of course, it works amazing with. Diva, it actually works pretty well with because you can protect the turrets and kind of protect Symmetra as she's running up close range. And as well with that, one of my favorite things is having a Symmetra ulted by Ana. She could just run around and just melt through those tanks faster than any other tank in the game. Yeah, that's really good. And of course, she's extremely tanky with the shield, with the damage reduction, and with the armor that gets extra damage reduction. It's really good, and if you have an Ana healing you, it's pretty much like a Diva that just does a ton more damage. Now, with all of this said, I can't say that it will always work on every map. There's certain maps where it's just kind of awkward. I really can't say exactly what ones, and of course, it depends on the enemy team. If they're playing really well, or if they have someone like a Pharah that's playing amazingly, and you just can't happen to beat her, you should probably switch off and go to the tanks that you are supposed to be playing in the first place. But otherwise, I'd say definitely give it a shot. Often it works golden for myself and for my friends, so hopefully it'll work decently for you as well. And the final thing that I do want to tell you guys is that it really doesn't take way too much time or way too much skill to learn these characters or to pull them off. Of course, if you are great at these characters, you can do much better, but I'd say in like Platinum and Diamond, you can easily just pull these guys out, maybe play an hour or 2 or 3 of these guys in quick play, kind of learn the strategy, and then put it straight into ranked. And it's been actually working really well. So I hope that can help you a bit as well, to not really be too afraid to pull out this strategy. Really, they're close range heroes that don't take way too much aim. Just make sure that you don't place your turrets in places that can be immediately killed. Try to get a bit of a height advantage with Torbs, or put it around a corner. And with Symmetras, put them on ceilings, put them on walls, put them on the floor, just put them all over the place so the opponents won't know exactly where they're always at. And as well, a quick reminder, do try to play this on defense instead of offense. I have had some success with it on offense, but honestly, it's like 20 times better on defense. You can try it on offense, but yeah, defense is much better. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say about the strategy. It's something at least to try if you're really bored of this tank meta. Me and my friends, it's been really enjoyable. It's been nice to have something that we can at least do other than just playing a ton of tanks and a ton of healers. And while it might not always be the most strong thing, it might not always 100% counter the tanks, it's a nice way that you can go if you don't want to always have to be playing tanks, because that's just honestly not the funnest thing, let's be honest. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, if you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, comment down below what you think of the strategy, and if it's ever worked for you in the past, or if it's worked for you after watching this video. And as always, have a wonderful day.